It's time to review GT7 on PS5. I just recently finished the GT mode, and yeah, I just thought because this has been uh, one of the best games I've played in recent years, and always a new Gran Turismo game is a big deal to me. I have played them from the very first game. I remember how it really dropped my jaw back in 97, 98. I still can. I mean, the game was released, I think, 98 in Europe. I didn't bought it, uh, at launch, but a little bit later. But yeah, that game was just phenomenal. It really, uh, it really put the new standard for racing games, uh, especially racing simulators. And yeah, I just remember waiting and waiting the GT2 in 2000. I mean, 99 when it was probably announced. Yeah, that game was just double the fun, double everything that the first game had. Yeah, it was just so much better. And then PlayStation 2 game, and with that, Gran Turismo 3, and the rest is history. I I'm not going any further than that, but yeah, I've played them all. And yeah, Gran Turismo 7 might be, I mean, it's hard to, it might be the best Gran Turismo, but then again, of course, it's, the latest, but uh, of course, you have to compare them like when they were first released, how much impact it made. But yeah, I would say this has made almost or not the same amount of impact for me than the Gran Turismo 2 and Gran Turismo 3 uh, made back in the day. But yeah, phenomenal game. It took me to finish the GT mode, I would say 20 or even 30 plus hours. Uh, and yeah, I really enjoyed the GT mode, but it could have been a little longer. I mean, I was kind of surprised that it came to an end, like after there are like 39 chapters or 39 uh, missions. I would say chapters, and they consist of you know doing multiple tasks like collect these three cars. You can either buy them straight from the dealer or used car dealer, or you can compete in a race to win that particular car. Then there are like easier and more shorter chapters, missions like tune up this car, and that's it. Make a photograph of this car, and etc. There are a mode where you can just, if you really love photography, you will love that. You can pretty much custom everything. You can take whatever photographs from your favorite cars and your favorite backgrounds. There are tons of backgrounds to choose from. But yeah, uh, like collect these cars, tune up this car, uh, participate in a cup, and finish at least third, second, or win the cup. It gets a little bit repetitive in the end. Like there aren't that many different missions, but still I very much enjoyed that main mode of the game. Uh, like, yeah, I have heard some shit about not fans not liking the GT mode in this. It's a little bit, yes, different than on the earlier Gran Turismo games. It's a different GT mode than what fans were used to in previous Gran Turismo games. Of course, Gran Turismo Sport didn't even have a GT mode to begin with, but that game's focus was much more on online racing. But yeah, this like uh, this this still focuses quite much on online racing, but yeah, uh, Polyphony Digital really listened to fans. They were not happy with the sport focusing too much on online racing, it and that it had so limited like offline content. So they really made, at least for me, in my opinion, a very, very, very good and different kind of GT mode, which I really appreciate. Not stucking into just one model of you know GT mode. Just a uh, little bit changing it, and I think the change was for the better. Uh, but yeah, and of course, after you have finished the GT mode, you can focus on online racing. You can just play the arcade exhibition races to earn more money, to buy new cars, used or new ones. This is pretty much about collecting cars, as much cars. If collecting cars isn't your cup of tea, then this game might not be for you. Uh, but yeah, I just love collecting cars, my favorite ones, and even not so much my favorite ones, but yeah, it's just addicting to just play races and earn money, and uh, then see if you have enough money for your much awaited supercar you must buy, which cost, let's say, 1 million or 2 million. Uh, yes, the game has gotten quite much shit about that yes, the game has in-game purchases, the virtual currency the in-game currency you need to buy. I mean, you don't need to buy, sorry, but uh, yeah, if you want, you need to use real money to buy that in-game currency. But yeah, people have, the in-game currency costs way too much. Uh, like if you want 2 million, uh, the car that costs 2 million, you need to, 2 million currency pack costs, let's say, €30. Yes, I admit it's ridiculous amount of money that it costs, but there aren't any cars that you can't buy just by just by competing the races. I mean, there are no exclusive cars that you need to buy using a real money. No, every car is, you know you can buy every car in the game with the in-game currency, and you don't need to buy any. You don't need to use real life money to buy. It's your own fault. It's your own stupidity, I think, if you uh, if you want to get much easier to just buy everything at the same time. I mean, of course, the main point is you play GT mode, you play online races, exhibition to earn the money to buy those cars you want. Not not like you need to do the hard work winning races to buy those cars, and not like, I want them all right now. Let's buy virtual currency with, let's say, 200 fucking euros, your real life money. That would be just fucking retarded. Uh, so I don't get the shit that the game gets. Like, yeah, like I said, it's your own fucking stupidity if you are not willing to play the game and use the hours of your time to really earn enough money to buy those cars you want. Anyway, enough of that rant, but I just hate when people don't understand some fucking simple things. But anyway, uh, let's speak about the gameplay itself. So that is pretty much, it's very Gran Turismo, like it's always been. Um, it's very similar to Gran Turismo Sport on PS4. I can't really see any big differences, and that's fine because the gameplay already was pretty fucking flawless, so enjoyable on Gran Turismo Sport. Uh, and of course, the PS5 version has the haptic feedback on DualSense, but it's nothing groundbreaking. It's pretty nice, but I would say even Freakfest on PS5 uh, does better with the haptic feedback. But yeah, it there's some pressure on triggers when you gas or brake, and when you turn corners, you get the feedback. Yeah, like I said, it's pretty standard, nothing groundbreaking, nothing special, but it gets the work done. But yeah, I mean, the so few games really can have the feeling of that competition, the adrenaline of the races. Uh, but Gran Turismo has always done that, at least for me. There's just the feeling of competition and feeling of, you know, giving all in the races, and and yeah, it just rewards you uh, with the hard-earned victory in the races, and even if you're second or third, uh, yeah, it's just a sense of competition, and that adrenaline, the you know that car sport has, you know uh, motorsport has. uh, yeah, it's just there aren't many games that can do that same thing. uh, yeah, the gameplay is pretty flawless in this game too, and I would say a little bit better, even better than on the Gran Turismo Sport. But yeah, the gameplay has always been one of the strongest points, or if not even the strongest point in Gran Turismo games. Uh, and speaking of that, it you know advertises to be the real racing simulator. It's not the most simulator game I have played, and there are uh, much more simulator, heavy simulator games than this. I would say even Forza Motorsport on Xbox consoles, that series is for me more simulation than this. But yeah, still this is very, 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 very far from arcade feeling. So of course it's much more closer to simulation, but I would say it's somewhere in between. Of course, it kind of is more into the simulation, of course, but there is enough, in my opinion, the arcade feeling also. Uh, it won't make racing and just things too difficult. Let's say there are more racing games that makes everything much more difficult. All the, of course you can set your everything from the uh, your you know body of the car and right, tires. You can set everything if you want, but you don't need to. Like when you get to the race and on the road, it's pretty simple racing, I would say. Nothing too difficult. um, and next, about graphics. Well, this isn't the best looking PS5 games by no means. It looks very good, but at times it can look kinda last gen, the PS4 game, more like PS4 game, and it might do with the fact that this game is also for PS4. So maybe they didn't, focus and take all the power from the PS5 and just added some graphical elements that are not present in the PS4 version. Of course, this looks better. It has, better, maybe better reflections, and of course better resolution, having the native 4K and ray tracing uh, and stuff like that. But yeah, I I expected it to be honest, I expected it to look better, but it's still very good looking game, and at best it's gorgeous game. It really depends. Like those night races uh, are really good looking. Like this has the real time day and night uh, circle. Well, of course not real time. It's much faster, but yeah, uh, on let's say on the 5 lap race, you started with you know uh, you start the race at midday, but in the end and on the last lap, it might have you know changed it into night. So that's pretty awesome. And there's also a dynamic weather, so all of a sudden rain can start, and it can stop as fast as it started. So the race starts with no rain, but in the middle, uh, rain starts, but in the end the rain can also stop. And it's kind of cool that, of course, you know the races change so much when the surface, the asphalt, is wet. It's much more, so fucking much more uh, harder to handle, control your car. And even if the uh, rain stops, the asphalt is still wet, but it kind of uh, dries up as you race. But it takes a little bit for the wetness of the track to really dry up. So those are really cool touches. I really like that. And yeah, well, that's about the graphics. And then about the sound, of course, let's first talk about just the sound effects. Well, the cars, I I I don't have myself. I don't have a car, real life car, but I assume all the cars sound very very lifelike. All the motor sounds and you know everything. Just the cars sound very very realistic. Let's just say uh, nothing. But then again, nothing really that special, but they sound awesome. Uh, and the soundtrack is pretty rock focused. There are some electronic music, some trance, which I really love. Uh, but yeah, it's mostly rock, and it's pretty okay. But yeah, again, nothing special. It gets the job done. Uh, then yeah, the longevity of the game, the real value, and how long it takes you to finish that. Of course, you can't pretty much finish this game ever, if you know what I mean. But that's the case with every racing game pretty much. But yeah, I just think that the GT mode would have been a little bit longer, but yeah, it took me about 20 to 30 hours to finish. But yeah, of course, if you are into online racing, that's pretty, limitless gameplay. Uh, Competing online, uh, yeah, the arcade mode, the exhibition races, you can just earn money. You can spend pretty much time with that, also just earning money and buying and collecting new cars. Then yes, there are split screen two-player mode, but it's really really bare boned. I would say that's the biggest minus in this game? Of course, the biggest minus would be that this game, if this game didn't have the split screen, of course that's good that it still has it in this day and age of gaming. Uh, but yeah, you can race every track that is available in single player. You can play every track on split screen also. But the thing that I just don't understand, the selection of cars is ridiculously limited on two-player mode. And I don't understand why. There are like 20 cars or something, 20 plus cars from some very uh, slow everyday cars to the some fastest supercars in the world and in between, but only about 20 to 30 cars. Like, why the fuck limit that so much? I mean, there are, you can't increase the amount of cars you can. At least I don't think you can. There are the cars you can see are everything there. It's all that you see and nothing more. There's 20 to 30 cars to choose from. You can't even, your own garage, your own collection, you can't pick cars from that, from your garage. That would be a very natural thing, but for some fucking reason you can't. So yeah, I've played the two-player mode. It's pretty fun, but only ruined by the very very limited selection of cars you can choose from. So that's pretty idiotic. I don't understand what Polyphony Digital thought about. I mean, and also there are no AI cars in the. You just race between your friend. It's only you and your friend on the track. No AI cars. So that's also pretty boring. But then again, it has always been like that with Gran Turismo game. From the very first Gran Turismo uh, to this, it's always been just you and your pal racing, no AI drivers, which would make races much more interesting in my opinion, but what can you do? But yeah, like, yeah, I'm very honest, and if there are things that, just bothers me, I will get into those and just rant about it. But don't get me wrong, this game has like 90%, at least 90% of positive things and only less than 10% of negative things. So in the end, I would give this game a much earned uh, 9.5 out of 10. Yes, it's that good. I mean, it would be perfect 10 if they would have not ruined the kind of half ruined the split screen mode by just limiting the fucking amount of cars you can choose from. Yeah, so one last look at the game itself and the quite nice background on the inside. What car is that? Some supercar, I can't recognize it, but anyway. And there's the disc. yeah, so anyway, all in all, brilliant, one of the best racing games like ever made. But of course, those little negative things do bother me a little bit. Like, I may be stupid, but I kind of expected this to be like a perfect racing game. But yeah, there are no such things as perfect games, I guess, or I haven't seen one. But yeah, brilliant game. And if you're new to the Gran Turismo series and you love just you really love the racing itself, the gameplay, and you love collecting and buying cars. You are a car lover, so to say. Uh, yeah, you should pick this one up, and yeah, it's it's one of the best racing games in recent years, and in my opinion, Gran Turismo is the best racing game series, period. But yeah, and if you are a fan like me, you probably have this game, I think. But yeah, to the new players, try it. I mean, like I said, if you just like, you know, like that the game has a great gameplay and uh, yeah, the feeling of competition. If you really love the adrenaline of races, this one is the best in that sense. Like I said, this just somehow delivers that feeling perfectly, like competing in a race with all the adrenaline and all the excitement, and it just does that. So anyway, this is it, the review of GT7 on PS5, and I'm out. See you in the next one. Bye.